The health minister is reporting an increase in the number of nurses and an overabundance of doctors. The establishment of a regional health agency identified as one of the major achievements at the just concluded CARICOM Heads of Government Conference. And in sports, Barbados falls 1-1 at the World Netball Championships.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowen. This is the CBC Evening News. Barbados is almost self-sufficient in nurses, and the number of doctors here may be outgrowing the available jobs. This revelation has come from Health Minister Donville Innes. He was speaking today as the House of Assembly continued debate on government's new human resource strategy. Mr. Innes says the number of nurses has reached a level where we may soon be able to send some overseas.
I'm merely speaking to the number of posts currently available within the public sector and the state of play with them. For example, in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, we have 423 nursing posts, of which approximately 400 are currently filled. Of that number, only 90 of the nursing staff, I'm told, are non-nationals, which means for the first time in a very long time, you have over 300 nursing posts at the QEH being occupied by Barbadians.
Mr. Innes told the House of Assembly that the number of doctors is growing. According to him, Barbados can no longer guarantee permanent employment to medical practitioners.
The Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health are engaging, certainly at ministerial level initially, in discussions surrounding this particular situation where we find ourselves today, where the public healthcare system as currently configured cannot guarantee employment to every doctor who is graduating or has recently graduated from universities here in the region and wherever. Now, that does not mean that we have all the doctors that we need. Let me make that abundantly clear. But based on the number of posts available in the public healthcare system, one would argue, therefore, that we reach the stage where we have a surplus of doctors, and I believe the numbers are somewhat coming close to 20.
Now that Bridgetown and its garrison have been designated as World Heritage Sites, Transport Minister John Boyce says more Barbadians should be trained in preserving structures and buildings. He says that at the moment, government has to bring in people who specialize in preservation techniques, and this is an area which more Barbadians should look at.
A short while ago, there was a Cuban expert here dealing with the whole question of our statues, and he looked at a number of statues all around Bridgetown and spoke to the conditions in which these structures are. And as we recognize our shortcomings, we recognize the kinds of opportunities in training, sir, which we will have to grab hold of.
The staff at the National Employment Bureau are moving to new offices. This was revealed by Labour Minister Dr. Esther Bayer-Suku. She says the members of staff are working under less than desirable conditions.
The truth is at the NEB, where they're located there in the old National Insurance building on Fairchild Street, they're demoralized, and so we're arranging to move them when the new buildings are ready at Warrens. Their physical location, the space, the conditions, the walls, the ceilings. Mr. Speaker, it's a very demoralizing environment to ask a handful of people to do what I think is one of the most crucial jobs in Barbados.
Meantime, MP for St. Michael's South East, Hamilton Lashley, believes that the elderly in Barbados can make a contribution to the new human resource strategy.
The marvelous resource of memory and so on and the experiences of our senior citizens should be stored, I keep saying it, into a memory bank, so that students at university, etc., so want to recount the experiences of the Cubanic aircraft, the 1955 Hurricane Jeanette, the 37 raids, the 66 raid that they have out there in Independence Square when the Supremes performed, and then it was turmoil in Broad Street, Swan Street, and around the Treasury area. How many Barbadians remember that?
A call for equal access and opportunities for the elderly. It has come from Social Care Minister Steve Blackett, who says Barbados is rapidly becoming an aging society. He says future strategies must take this into account.
In 1970, The over 65 population in Barbados numbered approximately 19,500. Now this increase reached 32,300 by the year 2000, and it is projected that by the year 2025, the figure will reach somewhere in the vicinity of 59,000. Now conversely, the figure for persons under the age of 25 in 1970 was at 132,300, which decreased to 97,400 in 2000, and it is also anticipated that this will fall even further by the year 2025. So you can see the two statistics on each side of the spectrum.
Mr. Blackett says the Social Care Ministry will be promoting the policy of active aging, since this elderly still have a lot to contribute to the society and the workforce. Well, the time may be right now to revamp the Education Act in Barbados. The suggestion coming from former teacher and MP for St. George North, Glenn Clark. He says one of the first things that should be revisited is the Common Entrance exam.
Is the Ministry of Education still in a mode to perpetuate a system that, to my mind, has caused more and more people to believe and think that they are failures? The education system, as we now know it, especially that is thrown out by the 11+, has created a situation where persons believe that if they score below 50 marks, they are failures. When you cream off those persons who have scored above 50 and send them to the so-called schools, what are you doing?
Mr. Clark also wants to see an increase in the number of male teachers. A strong defense of EduTech from former Parliamentary Secretary in the Education Ministry and Member of Parliament for St. Thomas, Cynthia Ford. She says EduTech has resulted in changing the way business is done in education while helping to significantly improve the infrastructure of schools. Her comments were made in the House of Assembly today during the debate on the human resource strategy.
12 years later, we're reaping the benefits of the same Antigua. Guyana and Trinidad, with the petrodollars, are now trying to implement what the Barbados Labour Party implemented to empower Barbadians across this whole spectrum. And I think it is extremely significant. It was not only about the technology, it was to do with the upgrade of schools' facilities, Mr. Deputy Speaker. It was to do with teacher training, curriculum reform, technical assistance. We train teachers, Mr. Deputy Speaker, with the Mount St. Vincent in association with Thurston Teachers Training College, special needs teachers, so that they can be put into the various schools where there are special needs children.
Coming up, we'll tell you what the Sanitation Service Authority is doing to help reduce the island's carbon emissions footprint. The Sanitation Service Authority is investing in more environmentally friendly vehicles. It is now in the process of changing from gas and diesel-powered vehicles to those using compressed natural gas. The first compressed natural gas vehicle has been purchased from local car dealership Courtesy. Minister of the Environment, Dr. Dennis Lowe, praised the Sanitation Service Authority's efforts to reduce the use of greenhouse gases by switching to more environmentally friendly and cost-effective fuels.
We have to play our role if we're going to benefit from climate change funding, if we're going to benefit from some of the international treaties that result in enabling small island developing states to manage their environments. It means that we have to have a demonstrated record of reducing our greenhouse gases in Barbados, and that goes anywhere from fuel used in vehicles, commercial and pleasure vehicles. As the saying goes, we cannot continue to use the same old methodologies to achieve new successes in the society.
Minister Lowe hopes that the SSA will also change its larger vehicles for natural gas-powered ones. Janelle Crawford, the Barbadian chef who won gold in the pastry category at the Caribbean Dueling Chef Competition in Miami 2 weeks ago, has been rewarded for her efforts. Ms. Crawford was honored by the newest hotel on the island, Ocean 15, where she works, and the Intimate Hotels of Barbados. Ms. Crawford, who also received a prize at the competition for the best use of chocolate, says she was humbled by the recognition.
I would like to say thank you on behalf of the Barbados Culinary team and myself to Ocean 15 management and staff for such a lovely surprise. I had no idea at all. You all got me by surprise. So thank you very much, and thank you all that supported me during the competition and all the training and everything. Thank you, Handy, Will War, Mitchell is not here, Stephanie, Tristan, Dominique, Ezra, Ali, Mark, and everybody else.
Chairman of Intimate Hotels of Barbados, Jeff Kinch, says her achievement doesn't only mean a lot to Barbados, but also to her family and friends.
You've made your mother sitting next to you, your colleagues at the back who would have helped you do what you did. And I'm sure the people who would have brought you along at school, all of these people helped to make you what you are and what you were able to accomplish.
The Attorney General, Adriel Brathwaite, and prison officials are trying to find an answer once and for all to reintegrating prisoners back into society. He raised the topic during the opening of a two-day meeting of the Caribbean Association of Corrections being hosted at Blue Horizon Hotel. He explains that prison officials are finding it difficult to help young men get back into society, especially those who have spent a few years incarcerated. The Attorney General says in many cases they don't have a family or home to return to.
How do we get them back into society where, in fact, in many instances, they don't have a family to go back to? And indeed, we have come across cases where they don't have a home to go back to. Now, that creates a significant challenge for us. And if, by any chance, over the next 2 days, that you can put your head together in terms of solutions for that area, and you can pass it on to Colonel Nurse, I would appreciate it. Because, as I said, it is something that we grapple with from day to day.
Superintendent of Prisons, Lieutenant Colonel John Nurse, admits that the reintegration process is an issue that needs to be addressed. He believes it has a lot to do with the perception of society.
Then we have the concerns that you may have with people in the community accepting people back once they've gone to prison. And there are trust issues as well. In the community, you may look at whether or not the prison has done a sufficiently good job in preparing a person to come back, whether we have addressed their offending behavior, whether we have given them a skill, so that if you have a job to offer, whether these persons can actually come and do the job and do it well.
Still to come, a look at stories making headlines across our region. Right now, the Courts Quiz. Which chapel was the first to receive electricity in Barbados? The 32nd Heads of Government Conference closed on a high note in St. Kitts. St. Kitts Prime Minister and Chairman of CARICOM, Dr. Denzel Douglas, reported that a newly established regional health agency was one of the major achievements. Lisa Broom has more.
CARICOM Chairman Dr. Denzel Douglas says the Caribbean Public Health Agency will bring 5 of the health and nutrition agencies across the Caribbean under one umbrella, and it will be based in Trinidad. He is, however, concerned about the area of agriculture. Dr. Douglas says it is unfortunate that most of the young and bright minds are not being occupied by this area, and there is more than enough space for agro-businesses, and the university is about to help.
We were told that the ministry, or I should say the University of the West Indies, was in the process of reintroducing a full-fledged agricultural faculty, so that that particular issue would be addressed.
The hot topic of Red Jet was also raised at the wrap-up. Guyana's President Bharat Jagdeo said he supports the airline and the possibility it brings for cheaper fares across the region. He says the issue of safety has to be addressed, but countries cannot be allowed to put political stumbling blocks in the way.
I hope there is no element of protectionism here. Carl has served us well, continues to serve us well, but the people of this region are more important than any airline. And we need competition in the sector, and we need lower fares, and we need them viable so that more people will travel.
Incoming President Desi Boutasé also commented on what the leaders plan to do to ensure that the average man feels a part of the CARICOM movement.
And what we must do in the coming period is better communication, and see how we can not only improve, but how we can do concrete projects with each other.
And after what all have described as a very focused and successful conference, the leaders then presented the prizes to the winners of the annual 5K and celebrated the 38th anniversary of CARICOM. Reporting from the St. Kitts Marriott in Frigate Bay, I'm Lisa Broom for CBC News.
Lisa, thank you for your reporting. Venezuela is marking the 200th anniversary of its independence from Spain, with President Hugo Chavez back from cancer surgery in Cuba. Street parties are being held across the country with a military parade in Caracas. President Chavez, who made a surprise return yesterday, said he would follow events from the presidential palace.
We don't really know if President Chavez is going to attend to this big military parade that is scheduled to be happening at around 10:30 Eastern local time, here in Caracas, Venezuela. But President Chavez is a man of surprises. As a matter of fact, he arrived to Caracas yesterday in a surprise visit. It wasn't scheduled for the president to come here, and he acknowledged that he has cancer a week ago. I'm going to show you the headline of the most important newspaper here in the country, and it basically is talking about President Chavez's health. It says, Presidente Hugo Chávez promete vencer el cáncer. That in English means President Hugo Chávez promises to defeat cancer. That's the main question over here because, as you said, President Hugo Chávez appeared in public yesterday. He talked for about 30 minutes. He gathered thousands of people, of his followers, in the main plaza in Caracas, Venezuela, but he didn't answer many questions, like, for instance, where is the cancer located and how bad is it? However, he acknowledged that he was in intensive care for about 4 days. This is a little bit of what President Chavez had to say.
Apenas han pasado ¿cuántos días? 10 días.
How much time has just passed? How many days? 10 days. It is incredible, I tell you, that I was there. You wouldn't believe it. It is like a miracle, but I have to be careful to the extreme with this process of recuperation.
Then the main question remains, it is the following: is President Chavez going to attend this military parade? The answer is, we don't know.
Very good evening. I am Mark Seal with your Lime Sports World. Barbados suffered their first defeat at the World Netball Championships this morning in Singapore, going down 74 goals to 42 to world number 3, England. The Bajans got off to a slow start, trailing 25-6 after the first quarter, but some changes in the second quarter, including Nikita Piggott replacing Laurel Brown at goal attack, saw them match England's 11 goals in the period to trail 36-17 at halftime. Barbados had a decent third quarter, scoring 13 goals to England's 16, but couldn't keep up the fight in the final quarter as England outscored them 22-12, en route to winning 74-42. For Barbados, Nikita Piggott scored 19 of her 21, while Lady Bishop shot 23 from 30. Brown missed her lone attempt. Of the 4 England shooters used, Jo Harton led with 22 from 24, while Louisa Brownfield, she shot 17 from 18. Barbados' record is now 1-1 after defeating Malaysia in their opening match. We have highlights of that game.
You got the feeling that when Barbados wanted to and put their minds to it, they could put together some very nice passages of play. And there she was, Laurel Brown, turned out to be the player of the match. She had a very fine game. There was the shooting, which perhaps was poor in the first half from Malaysia, particularly the skipper where we saw Arana Santapana. It cost them dearly, really, in the first half of the match, whereas at the other end, the goals were falling. Nikita Piggott, one of the stars really for Barbados.
Yes, and she's gone down with an ankle injury, so Barbados will be hoping it's not serious, because she was setting up a lot of opportunities for her team. She was doing a lot of driving into the circle and opening it up for either Brown or Bishop. She's a very good player, and yes, she certainly was one of the stars of the game. But Barbados kept pushing. They fell away in that third quarter, but they kept on persevering, had a very good last quarter. Malaysia perhaps is showing their inexperience in the end, but good signs from Malaysia. There were some really good passages of players we're seeing here. Mohammed Wazir, she had a terrific game. She's a really fine mover, and she and Abu Bakar and Mohammed Shamsuddin, they're certainly stars of the future. Not afraid to let it go when they can, Barbados. Sometimes tonight it came off, sometimes it didn't.
We'll show that entire game right after the news at around 2 minutes after 8. Barbados will play their final Pool D game against Malawi tomorrow. If they win that encounter, then they will advance to the quarterfinals along with England from that group. On to cricket, St. Leonard's boys completed the upset by beating former undefeated team Alexandra at Queen Street by 9 runs today. That was the end of Series 4 in the Lime Under-15 cricket competition. The writing was on the wall since yesterday when St. Leonard's got first innings points, scoring 94 and then dismissing Alexandra for just 43. CBC's Anne-Marie Burke reports on today's second innings.
St. Leonard's resumed the day on 1 without loss, but openers Tremaine Harris and Desmond Currency didn't last long. So Sadrian Ward and Shaquille Turney had their work cut out for them, and Ward stuck to task. This one runs to the boundary, but perhaps Ward's eagerness was to his demise. Looking to smash this one, it was right into the hands of Kalen Vanderpool, with the score now on 25. Darrell Babb, the bowler. Wicket number 4 will be that of Rakim Hines, stumped by the quick fire keeper Jared Eiffel. Ronaldo Boyce came to the crease and wasted no time finding the boundary, a strong pull for this 4. But St. Leonard's wickets continued to tumble. Turney, who held on for a good stint, went out caught by Shaquem Haynes for 18. Once again, Babb delivered the ball. Bowler Dominic Drakes wouldn't let Babb get all, as Shaquan Cave easily took the catch and Shamar Holder was back to the pavilion. The score now 39. Boys will sneak in another 4, although St. Leonard's seem to be having it a little tough, a run rate of 1 per over at this stage. 2 more wickets would fall before lunch. Nikolai Padmore caught out of the crease and stumped. And Rashad Eli's stumps went flying as Drakes claimed his second man. St. Leonard's went to lunch on 51 for the loss of 8. Anne-Marie Burke, CBC Sports.
Well, thanks, Anne-Marie. St. Leonard's only added 1 more run. They were all out for 52, but then they dismissed Alexandra for 61 to win by 9 runs. Desmond Currency took 5 for 11. In another victory, Queen's College defeated Dighton Griffith by 18 runs. Scores at Husbands, QC, they made 134 for 9 in their second innings when they declared, and Dighton were bowled then for 112. At Messiah Street, the Lodge defeated St. Lucie by 8 wickets. St. Lucie 87 and 60. The Lodge 131 for 9 and 16 for 2. And at Parkinson, the hosts defeated Allen School by 4 runs. Parkinson 62 for 7 declared and 69. Allen 100 for 8 and 27 all out. Our sprinter Tashawn Boyce produced match-winning figures of 6 for 8. At the QEH ground, St. Michael and Corrigan Parry played to a draw. CP 81 for 9 and 140 for 4 with Hassani Newton smashing 91. St. Michael 81 for 8 and 39 for 3. And at Blackman's, Garrison and Grant Tilly Adams also drawed their game. Garrison 77 for 8 and 145. Grant Tilly Adams 120 for 3 and 63 without loss. Still in cricket, Shivnarine Chandapal will tomorrow become the most capped West Indies Test player. Chandapal, who has played 132 Test matches for the West Indies, is now level with former captain Courtney Walsh. Tomorrow's 3rd Digicel Test match against India in Dominica will take him to 133. Chandapal is also the 2nd highest scorer in Tests for the West Indies, having scored 9,228 runs at an average of 48.56. including 22 centuries. Former record holder Courtney Walsh says Shiv has certainly played the game in the right way and has shown great dedication and commitment to the team and the region, always displaying true determination and fighting spirit throughout his career. Walsh added that he's happy that it's Chandapal, the one who will break the mark, having been a member of the team when Chandapal was just starting out. Playing tomorrow's game will start at 10 a.m. It'll be live on TV 8 and Radio 94.7 FM. India lead that series 1-0 with just this third and final test at Windsor Park in Dominica left to be played. We'll take a break here. We'll come back with football. Clayton School of Tonic Notre Dame have claimed second spot in the just concluded BFA Judicial Premier League Championship. Playing in the final match of the season, the Dames defeated the newly crowned champions Meridian Youth Milan 2-1. CBC's Melissa Farley recaps the triple header.
As the season started, so did it end. A clash between Notre Dame and Youth Milan. And the only difference was Dames emerging winners this time around. It started in the second half when the first closed off goalless, and a penalty shot taken by John Nabi Paris put the Dames 1-up. It then went to 2-0 when teamwork along with a keeper's mistake came into play, and Rudy Grosvenor took advantage as the former champions walked away with the win and the second spot on the standings. Meanwhile, Britons Hill also ended in winning ways, having been defeated in the first round as well. Jeffrey Williams got the ball rolling for the guys in red over Bagatelle. But the highlight was Gregory Lalo Goodrich, showing that age is just a number as he walked around the keeper, goal number 2 for Britons Hill. And if that was not enough, how about showing the defenders how to dance? Goodrich struck again. The final score, Britons Hill 3, Bagatelle 1. Britons Hill settled in 4th spot. And the first game of the night, Wales cruised past Paradise with a 2-0 win. The goals coming from Dwayne Stanford and Dwayne McLean. Wales will occupy 3rd spot, level on 33 points with Notre Dame, but the Dames had a better goal average. And that's how the curtain came down on the 2011 BFA Digicel Premier League Championship. Melissa Farley, CBC Sports.
On to basketball, rollaway Storm Security Shutters St. John Sonnets registered just their 3rd win of the season when they met British American Insurance Jackson in the BABA Premier League recently. CBC's Marsha Boyce was at the Garfield Sobers gym.
Sonics in white were the early leaders in this game against Jackson. They went up 18-12 by the end of the first quarter. Sonics had the overseas-based George Haynes in their lineup, and the big man made his presence felt in the paint. He would go on to score a game-high 16 points and pick up 12 rebounds. Sonics led 32-29 at halftime. If the first half was theirs, the third quarter definitely belonged to Jackson. LeVar Graves with the layup for 2 of his 12 points. Also big in this period was Manuel Aleng. He ended with a team-high 15 points. Jackson enjoyed an 11-0 run to take the lead and would go up by as much as 10. This steal by Dwayne Kelman was probably the highlight of what was a bad quarter for the Sonics. Kelman had 10 points in the game. Jackson, though, would be the ones to take a 5-point advantage into the final quarter. They led 47-42. Now the momentum kept shifting in this low-scoring encounter as Sonics would cut the deficit to 1. But that was short-lived as Jackson were soon back up by 5. It was a disappointing showing, though, from Jackson's Peter Aline. He failed to score on the night. Pearson Griffith there with the rebound. He ended with 10. Akeem Marsh was good for 14 points and 11 rebounds for the Sonics. And with 15 seconds to go, Haynes, sent to the line, would level the score at 56 all, scoring both free throws. 12 seconds remaining. Jackson had what could have been the last possession for the win, but they made a mess of it. Jason Boyne would put the Sonics ahead by 1 with this free throw and would deliberately miss the next, as with just 1 second left on the clock, it was victory for Sonics, 57-56. Marsha Boyce, CBC Sports.
Thanks, Marsha. And in another matchup, Pinelands improved their record to 5-3 with a 75-67 victory over Lumber Company Lakers. Ramon Simmons led with a game-high 19 points for the Pine. Charles Vanderpool added 17, Kurt Elias 15, and DeCarlos Keat 11. For the Lakers, Ian Alexander had 16 and Jamar King 11. They were the only double-figure scorers for the Lakers. Well, that's it for sports. Just remember, on 100.7 FM, we'll have Mid-Wicket. And then at 8:02 on TV8, netball, Barbados versus Malaysia at the World Championships. That's sports. Business next.
Good evening, I'm Kent Jerson, and this is the Business Report. Now, an international carrier is reaffirming its commitment to Barbados during these tough economic times. And tourism officials welcome the reassurance. Ron Brathwaite has that story.
Air Canada is vowing to continue working closely with the Barbados Tourism Authority to maintain flights to the island. This assurance from the airline's president and chief executive officer, Calvin Rovanescu, seen here with the Barbados delegation led by Minister of Tourism Richard Seeley and BTA Chairman Adrian Elcott. The local group recently visited Canada to explore the possibility of more airlift opportunities between the two Commonwealth countries. Mr. Rovanescu lauded Barbados' long-standing relationship with Canada. The CEO noted that airlines are facing grave challenges in the current economic climate. He added that they have to be selective with their destinations because airlines have to sustain a high load factor to make a profit. According to him, Air Canada's biggest markets are New York City in the US and European cities like London and Frankfurt. Mr. Rovanescu said, nevertheless, the airline is a legacy carrier to Barbados and would continue to ply the route. Ron Brathwaite, CBC News.
And the suggestion that there are some untapped manufacturing opportunities that could easily be exploited by Barbadians. This assertion from local businessman Ver Brown, who says all across Barbados there are fruits and plants that could be turned into marketable products. He specifically pointed to tamarinds, almonds, and even the aloe plant.
Why can't we grow them on the plantation estates and package them the way we package them? Why not? And sell them to the world.
Most people like
you know why? Because we don't. When you talk manufacturing, bro, you gotta make a motor car or you gotta build a house. That's what manufacturing is about.
Mr. Brown also believes government could lease idle plantations and partner with entrepreneurial individuals to generate employment.
Let me take figures, for example. Government buys it, leases it to Hal Martin on condition that Hal Martin sets up a company with at least 10 pigeons in it. And if you have one of those plantations in every parish, and there are 11 parishes, there's 11 plantations by 10, it's 110 people immediately empowered.
We take a brief look at the stocks now. Here's a summary of today's trading on some of the region's exchanges.
All right, good evening to all, and we recorded fair to occasionally cloudy skies here across Barbados and across most of the island chain. We did have a few scattered showers, but there's this multi-layered cloud mass to the south that is gradually migrating. Already Trinidad is experiencing some shower activity. I'll tell you about that shortly. Now, in terms of the temperatures at the airport, we got up to a high of 31.2 degrees Celsius today. The minimum temperature was 26.2. At 6 o'clock, skies were cloudy. The temperature was on its way down, but still rather warm, 28.8 degrees Celsius. The humidity 73%, and the winds were rushing out of the east at 33 kilometers per hour. The apparent temperature, 41.5 degrees Celsius, but there was some balance as the winds continued to be quite strong, and I didn't hear a lot of complaints about the heat. Now, there's one tropical wave to the to the east of us, Barbados and the island chain, and that tropical wave is approaching 50 degrees west. Most of the activity is to the south in the vicinity of the intertropical convergence zone. And talking about intertropical convergence zone, this cloud ahead, most of the action ahead of that tropical wave is associated with the intertropical convergence zone. And the very reason why I told you it is migrating northward is because it is over Trinidad and Tobago at this time, and they're getting some showers. At least the last 3 hours they've been reporting some shower activity. Let's put the cloud in motion, get a better perspective of what we had today going on in Barbados and the island chain. The ridge of high pressure was the dominant feature over Barbados and the northern islands. Just some shallow patches moving in and out of the region under the influence of the very strong winds. But this is the cloud mass of which I spoke just now. Intertropical convergence zone activity, some showers and thunderstorms over the Guyanas initially, but it is migrating northward. Now, our predictions are that the cloud mass ahead of the tropical wave. The tropical wave is due to move in later tonight and into tomorrow, the axis that is, and we are expecting the cloud to engulf Barbados and the southern portion initially. But there's this pull, this strong southeasterly pull, and all indications are that it's going to be spreading over the island chain over the next 24 hours. But initially, we're going to be looking at fair to partly cloudy skies, some scattered shower activity, but later tonight, the activity is going to be pulling over the northern portion of the island chain. Now, in the west, they had measured activity today, combination of a tropical wave and an upper level trough. It looks quite bad, but most of the heavy stuff was over open water. But nevertheless, the instability levels continue to be high. I'll be back after the break. Welcome back, and well, this is what it's going to be like according to our predictions. The combination of that intertropical convergence zone activity gradually pulling northward along with the tropical wave advancing. The green represents showers, and well, a few thunderstorms could very well be embedded in this activity as it comes under the influence of the upper level trough. That trough is gradually shifting to the west, and that should give the whole situation a little more impetus, and few thunderstorms are expected. Let's take a look now at our 4-day prediction. We're going to be looking at Wednesday through to Saturday. And cloudy skies, possibility of thunderstorms Wednesday into Thursday. Now, once the tropical wave moves out of the area, the graph is going to begin to come down. Partly cloudy skies, scattered showers, fair and breezy come Saturday. And again, once that tropical wave moves out of the area, the winds are going to be picking up quite significantly once more and freshen up really strongly across the region. Sunrise in Barbados tomorrow 5:36. Sunset will be at 29 minutes after 6. The first high tide 7 minutes after 7 tomorrow morning. The second 7:49 in the evening. The first low tide 7 minutes to 1 early tomorrow morning, while the second low tide is going to be at 17 minutes after 1 in the afternoon. The seas continue to be above normal, peaking at 2.5 meters, and we are urging small craft operators and sea bathers to continue to be cautious. The winds easterly 15 to 40 kilometers per hour. Our predictions for Barbados tonight: fair at first, becoming increasingly cloudy with some scattered showers. And take a look, Pearson. Cloudy to overcast with scattered showers and possible isolated thunderstorms.